There are those who speak and those who listen. But every so often, someone shows up who does both with uncommon purpose and an open notebook in hand. Nicole Banks is a power connector, a woman whose network doesn't just span industries, it sparks movements. For more than 2 decades, she's solved problems others run from, built what others said couldn't be done, and highlighted the wisdom of giants, one page at a time. This is Nicole's Business Notebook, a curated circle of brilliance, a behind-the-scenes pass to the strategies, stories, and secrets shared by the experts she calls friends. It's not just a show, it's a blueprint for those bold enough to build. So settle in, because the notebook is open.
Hi, it's Nicole Banks with Nicole's Business Notebook, where I bring together my business friends to help entrepreneurs to do better business. Today we have Tiffany Haskins. She is an empowerment coach who helps you get past your crap. Her words, not mine. We're going to go into her origin story, what made her get into entrepreneurship, and what the future looks like. So I'm really excited. Thank you, Tiffany, so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to share and be here.
100%. So obviously, you've had a wide range of experience in your life. Not looking for every detail, but overarching. Let's start. You're native here to the Valley, right?
I am born and raised.
Amazing.
I love it. Don't want to leave ever.
Love it. Heat and all?
Heat and all. I love the heat. Better than the snow any day of the week.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. So, obviously you grew up here, you know the Valley well. You've kind of done, some odd jobs and that whole bit. Why don't you talk a little bit about your employment history and kind of how you got your start?
All right. So I was a teacher. I was a 3rd grade teacher for several years. And I decided that it was no longer for me because of the politics. I could not deal with the fact that I cared more about the children than the teachers or the other teachers and the principal and stuff like that. So I decided to go into healthcare. I knew somebody in healthcare, and I got a job, and I worked that for 10 years. And I was on call. I was constantly working, and I was doing 3 jobs at one time. And so I cried out, and I was in this phase of my life because I knew something was necessary to change, and I just didn't know what. And so 2016 happened, and I got divorced. And so I knew something needed to change in my life. And I was really good in healthcare, and I stayed in that for a while. But then a few years after COVID, I want to say right after COVID, I was introduced into entrepreneurship and network marketing, and by an 87-year-old woman, and she saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. I had no clue about entrepreneurship and that it was possible for me.
That's amazing. So, did the conventional career path, and made that change. It seems like a lot of us have that, attempt of trying to figure it out in corporate and then make that jump. And it's obviously terrifying. So what kind of kicked you in the butt to start your entrepreneurship journey besides the mentor? Like you mentioned that, there was this shift. What actually made you do it?
She actually saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. I was working at a senior center, and it was like after that moment with, that silent moment that I had, it was like I knew that I was meant for more. And once I figured I was meant for more, and she started pulling things out of me that I didn't realize. I'm an introvert, and I was like, I'm shy. There's no way I'm going to network. There's no way I'm talking to people. There's no way I'm going to sell products, let alone myself. There's no way. And she's like, well, how did you get me down here? She's like, that's selling. She's like, how do you get your kids to do things that you want to do? You want them to do? That's selling. So she just opened my eyes to a whole different way of being, and it just broke something in me that was like, I was so excited. There was no stopping me.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
And definitely feel that energy from you and what you're doing and the whole bit.
You.
So, you started this entrepreneurship journey doing network marketing. So, it kind of feels like not completely fully into entrepreneurship, but, definitely, 90% of the way there. So do you think that network marketing is a great sort of first step for people that are looking to jump into entrepreneurship?
Yes. I hear so many different entrepreneurs start in network marketing because it is such an open opportunity. There's no necessarily no commitment. I mean, you have to commit to something, but it didn't feel as scary as, like, I didn't want to do an LLC. I didn't want to do all of the entrepreneurship things. I didn't have any idea of where to start. So she's like, I'll take you by the hand. It doesn't cost you anything to start. You know, she sold me on all of the things that, you know, you can do to start a business. And so I was like, okay, let's go. And so that's how I began. But yeah,
that's amazing.
I found out, yeah.
So you are also a mom.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think being a mom gives you entrepreneurial superpowers?
Oh my goodness. Well, like I said earlier, like the whole, you have to get them to do things that they don't want to do, and you have to love with your whole heart unconditionally. Like there's no thing that my children can do that will make me love them less. And I feel like when you're an entrepreneur, you have to be that way with people, because there's so many different personalities, and you have to be able to get along with so many different people. But in entrepreneurship, you almost get to choose who you're friends with and who you welcome into your circle. And so that's like, even with your kids, you're kind of stuck with them, but you teach them so many different ways and different things that you can. Yeah,
I love that. I mean, basically you're selling every day.
You are,
in one aspect or another. So
yes.
I think that's great. So, you started with Amway, and your network marketing. What was the process of figuring out how to sell products and how to represent a different brand, and those kind of baby steps that you'd made, those first few years? How was that on the process for you?
So when I first thought about having to go out and talk to people, I was like, there's no way. That is just not something I am capable of. Like, I remember even in the healthcare, my aunt would always try to get me to go to networking events because I was young, and she would just wanted to introduce me to people. And I refused. I was like, nope, not happening, no way. And even when we would go to restaurants and stuff like that with, like, business people within the healthcare system, I was like mute. I would not talk. People thought I was a snob. They thought I was rude. And my mentor, she's like, no, you have to get out of that. You have to start talking to people. Just simply go and say hi at the store. I was like, she's like, you're being selfish by hiding your light. And I was like, oh, that to me was a mic drop moment. Yep. When you're called selfish and you're like, no, I'm not. You get scared. And you're like, no, you're not selfish. You want to be that person. Deep down inside you want to help people. Everybody does. Everybody wants that to be seen, heard, and felt. And that's kind of where I started. I just started saying hi to people and asking about how their day was. And it was like, oh, this is easy. And people actually wanted to talk to me. And that was what started the whole thing. It just lit a fire into me from then on.
I love that. I want to take the tapes back to the first time that we met. We were at a networking event, and you were still kind of getting your legs underneath you and the whole bit. Can you talk about that event and what you were feeling, and kind of share a little bit about that story?
Oh, my goodness. So, yes, the first time we met was it was one of those things, it was new to me because I had never went to, like, an event. That was my first event that I actually remember being at. And I was invited by somebody else, and you came up to me, made me feel at home, so welcome. Like, so that's like your total gift. And I was like, oh, you're here. And you just made me feel so good. So I remember sitting down by myself, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to tell people what I do. I don't want to tell people what I do. There's no way. And so I did not tell anybody what I did. I was like, no, I'm good. I don't want to share. And everybody was encouraging, and everybody was telling me, just share. And I was almost like, I don't know if it's embarrassed, but I didn't want to share what I did. I didn't know how to say what I did.
And now you are going to networking events and doing stuff on your own and introducing yourself. That's obviously, apples and airplanes.
There you go.
So,
I like that.
I mean, obviously you have this, growth that you've done. For people that may have been in your shoes that first event, you're obviously not there now. What advice would you give yourself at that first event?
Oh, man. Lean into mentorship. Because if I didn't have you and then obviously the mentors before that, but like, I have people that believed in me. They're like, no, you can do this. You are capable. And you just you lean into the other people there too. When people are encouraging you, you feel good. It really does. Just do something scary, and it's actually not that scary. It really wasn't once I got used to it. It's not that. It's not that bad.
And now you're a speaker too?
I know. Since I met you, my whole life has changed. And I literally, speaking at that event, I remember crying and almost walking off the stage because I was so terrified of being judged, of being seen, of being heard, of all the things that, as children we're like, we were told, not to be seen, not to be heard. Well, we felt that way when we were shunned or when we were shamed or whatever. So that was the little person in me just like screaming, no, don't do it. And the fact that I stayed up there and I did it in honor of you, really.
And did a dang good job.
Yeah, thank you. And yes, people were coming up to me and telling me thank you for, staying up there. You did a great job. And that gave me the courage to be able to continue to do like the networking events and put myself out there and show up.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
So, for those that are terrified of public speaking, I love you. You did cry. So in that, now looking back at that, what advice would you give somebody who's speaking for the first time?
You have a story. You're meant to share it. And no matter how scared you are, you can silence that little person inside of you and just remind her or him that you are capable of so much more, and grab hold of somebody that believes in you, and they just help you shine. I remember even Clifford starts talking to me that day. He's like, you got this, you can do this. And so when he believed in me too, it was just like all of the support, it was so worth it. It's so worth it to just get out of your comfort zone and calm that inner critic inside.
I love that. So, obviously, we're working together. I'm mentoring you, the whole thing. And, when we first started, you kind of had your Amway jacket to kind of protect you. Mm-hmm. And now you kind of shun the jacket, and you're kind of leading into your empowerment journey and empowering others. That obviously was a big transition and really kind of putting both feet into entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Besides me pushing you, lovingly, why did you do that?
That was my original goal. My sister had talked me into the fact that I had a spiritual gift within me, and that I had shied away from it when I took the easy route of being a network marketer. And so when I still have the desire to build a team and stuff like that. However, like the desire within me to help people get out of their crap is so much better than selling any product to anybody. But I want to change lives. And when my sister believed in me that much, and then you started believing in me, and then I just started taking off. I was just like, no, I can do this. This is who I am. And it was so easy and so fun, and it was not hard. Right. Whereas network marketing was a little bit harder for me.
Which is great. It's about finding your gifts and finding your mission and purpose. Mm-hmm. So get past your crap is a very term that doesn't necessarily have any sort of finite what exactly that means. So what do you do?
So I created a Prism method. It's called the Prism method, and it's perspective, and then it's, what is the R? Oh my gosh. Perspective. I had it all. Release. Sorry.
Yep. No, you're good.
So it's perspective, release, and I is for integration, S is for strategy, and then M is for momentum. And so when you change your perception and your perspective of something, you are able to step into your power. So I help you use your unique design and using 3 pieces of information, and then I get that 3 pieces of information and I analyze it. And then I go into release those trapped emotions. We operate from our perspective of a 3-year-old or a 7-year-old or a 10-year-old. We operate from the wounds of our childhood. And so if you're not doing something, you need help. And I can't do it on my own all the time. I need somebody as well. It's one of those things where you don't go deep if somebody's not guiding you. So that's where we integrate it. That's where I help you integrate it. And then I give you a strategy. Right. Yeah. Strategy. And it's a plan of action. You get to use your now new perspective to live your life the actual way you were designed to, not by default or by society or your old wounds. And then momentum, that's when you start taking off and you start doing things that you never knew you could. And that's, yeah.
I love it.
That's the start. Yep.
Great job at, putting that to pen to paper and, moving forward and having this, modality that you're going through. So when you're talking about these, this method and the whole bit, for some that might be, oh, that's just foofy, or that's, pseudoscience, or, whatever, those sort of negatives are, what's your comeback?
Well, you say your crap then, and I will move forward. No, but in all honesty, it's more of a spiritual connection. I know that there's woo-woo to it, because you're like, am I able to help you heal yourself? Whoops. And so, but we're all spiritual beings. Like, that's what we're here for. We're here to help each other. And I don't know how I got the gift. I have no clue. It just came to me. And so why would I hide it? Because people want to judge and, think of woo-woo, what did you call it? Woo-woo, crunchy crap. It was the best. I was like, yes, I'll be woo-woo. And then another thing is, my parents were like, what are you doing? This is so ungodly almost. But when I started working even with them, they're my biggest support system. So when they opened their mind to it and they saw the difference, like my stepdad has cancer, or he's fought cancer twice. And so he allows me to work through him. And I know cancer stems from anger. And I said, well, we need to work through the anger part of you. And so now he sleeps better at night. And he's not as, he doesn't hold on to his anxiety and his emotions as much. And same with my mom. She's just a happier, she radiates joy, and she's the saint of our family. So it was nice to be able to work with them.
I love that. And I love that, your parents can sometimes be your biggest support system, but it's really easy for them to be your biggest critic and not necessarily get what you're trying to do and that whole bit. So I love that for you, that you have that support. And so I know another thing that's really important to you is morning routine. I am a fly-by-night, get up, just get going type of gal. Can you talk about the intention that you create when you have a morning routine and why you benefit that for all entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so the morning routine is where I first started. I used to be the same way, a fly by the seat of my pants, get up, go. A single mom, I like to rephrase it as I am a mother that is single, or something like that. I'm a woman that is a single mother, something like that. I don't know. We'll just skip that part.
Okay.
Anyways, since I am a single mother and I had to work 3 jobs at one point in my life, I had to change who I was. I could no longer do everything at night and be this in everything. So I decided to follow the gurus, the experts, and create a morning routine. And so what I start with is mindfulness. I remind myself of who I actually really am and how special I am. And that's a lot. That's hard for a lot of people to do, is to remind themselves of how amazing they are. So once you start with that intention, beginning your day with intention is the most important part. And so I just do the intention part, and I have a breathing or movement exercise that I do. And a lot of people don't even realize the power of breath. When you just take that few seconds to breathe deep, it resets your nervous system in a way that it's the easiest thing to do. It's like the walls of Jericho. I was literally in a session I do volunteer work at my church, and the lesson was the walls of Jericho. He literally made them walk around the walls of Jericho 7 times, shouting praise and stuff. Super simple, right? We complicate everything. But when we have a morning routine, we get to get back to our roots and uncomplicate the day before it starts. So that's kind of where it is.
I love that.
And gratitude, I do gratitude and a few other different things, but those are the main things, that you just start with your day with an intention and reminding yourself of who you are. Simple. Simplicity.
Indeed. So, obviously, you built the Prism method, you have your morning routine. How does somebody work with you?
I don't know what to say.
We'll cut this part out.
Good thing this is going to be cut out. Yeah. Oh my goodness. My social media, that's really, I have a website, but it's not complete. So I really don't know.
Okay, we'll cut this question. Okay.
We have to figure out how somebody could work with me, though, because, seriously, it's duh.
A little bit. Okay. All right. So when we're talking about the morning routine, where we're talking about Prism, taking those 2 things off the table, if you had a magic power, magic wand that entrepreneurs would listen to you and their lives would be better, what is one thing that you would tell them to help them to be better?
Your mind is your most powerful tool. And if you change your mind, your thoughts, and you redirect them into the positive, your life will shift completely. Like your thoughts and your words have so much power. And even I have, those moments where I still talk bad. I still talk down on myself. It's just it's just the part of life. But catching them, the awareness is so key. Once you can catch those thoughts in the moment and flip them and say, no, this is not me. This is not my truth anymore. And then you act in that whole different way. Your life is going to change dramatically.
I love that.
Yeah.
When we first started, obviously I felt like your mentor, and coming in and helping you to introduce yourselves and have you on my elbow at networking events and, do all that. And then, you kind of chipped away the hard exterior and got it to the point where you're like, well, when I asked you, like, what do you do? You're like, oh, well, I help people get past their crap. I'm like, okay, well, what exactly does that mean? And not saying that I was your guinea pig. I was a willing participant in what you do and how you do it and the whole bit. So, on a kind of first person basis, I'll say what you do is not anything what I expected. The results are not anywhere near what I thought possible. And I will say that I am unapologetically your biggest fan.
Thank you.
And, for me and my upbringing and, my trauma and the things that I've gone through, I'm kind of that, egg, I got that tough exterior and I'm all, jelly on the inside. Mm-hmm. And so, for those that may be looking for something, that's a little non-traditional, but really effective, I definitely recommend connecting with you. I know that you offer free consultation so that people can learn about you and what you do and that whole bit. And in that, figuring out your human design, and that I think has been really pivotal for me to really understand, not in a foofy type of way, but, if I work with that and rather than against it, life's become a lot easier for me since working with you. And I've gotten a lot of big wins and a lot of great understanding. And I've given myself a lot more grace, which for me is something that I struggle with. So what are some of your other wins? I know that you've worked with some other people and that whole bit. Like, what do they say about your work?
So I have a few people that actually I've worked with, and so one of them actually it's more of a medical situation. Like, she was literally getting up every night to go to the bathroom multiple times, and after working with me, she doesn't. It's like once a week she'll get up, like every once in a while now, and that's huge. That's huge on your sleep pattern. That's huge on like your REM sleeping and everything. And then I also helped her understand like she is more than she could ever imagine, and so she's starting her own business too. She's venturing out. And then another person I helped, she reconnected with her family, and she moved back to her country. I want to say her country. And she's thriving. And so she was so terrified to get out of her own way. She didn't even realize that she was playing a victim mentality. She didn't see herself as a victim, and I helped her see that lovingly. Like, when you're called a victim, it sucks. Yeah. And so she took it well, and she reconnected with her family, and now she's thriving, and looking forward to working with her continuously. And then the one guy that I actually helped, he's a single dad, and he took my program, and he just lost his wife 3 years ago, and he was really unsure of what he wanted to do, and I brought him into your world too, and we both tag team him, and it's amazing. And we're helping him see his worth, and he's so excited now. When he worked with me, and the next day he was like, I was able to actually help somebody, and it felt amazing. And it's almost like he's discovering his true purpose, and that's what I love. I love helping people uncover who they really are.
I love that. I obviously know him too, and he's gone from welder to life coach.
Amen. So
completely changed his life. So in that, the proof's in the pudding. So what I'll say is you don't really need to understand what Tiffany does in a, sort of line by line, sort of perspective. But I'll say give her a chance. the way that she approaches things, the methodologies that she's used, the integration of this Prism method to really kind of point you in a strategy that'll help you grow can really have lifelong, invaluable results. So, Tiffany, we've gone through a lot, in this interview, and the whole bit. We know we talked about the magic wand and that whole bit, but what are you most excited about for the rest of 2025 into 2026 for you and your business?
My growth and watching other people that find me and work with me in their growth. I love watching people grow. That's what I loved as a teacher, and I will continue to love watching people blossom just like I did. It's like I lived through my example. That's how I operate, is live through example. And my story will eventually reach the right people, and I would love to see lives changed through my work.
Well, I think you've changed my life. So mission accomplished. And those people that you mentioned also, I know them also. And, I've seen the proof in the pudding for sure. So, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the podcast and share your story and your history and where you're going and, that whole bit. Any sort of last minute mic drop moments that an entrepreneur can benefit from?
Trying to think. Like I said, make your mind your biggest asset, and really watch your thinking and watch your thoughts, and your life will change.
I love that. Thank you so much for being on the show. Again, really appreciate you having here. So excited for the continued impact that you have on my life. And we'll be at a networking event soon together, elbow to elbow, and we'll hopefully get you tons of clients, and you can help watch tons of people grow.
Thank you for having me. It's been an honor. I appreciate you.
Of course, likewise. All right, so this is another episode of Nicole's Business Notebook, where we're bringing together people from throughout my network in the greater Phoenix Valley and beyond, so that we can get past our crap and be better entrepreneurs, doing better business more authentically with love to each other, so that we can all grow as Tiffany would like to see everybody grow together. Thank you so much for another episode of Nicole's Business Notebook, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Nicole's Business Notebook. Subscribe and follow for more tips, insider secrets, and hard-earned wisdom, so that we can all do better business together. See you next time.